person today.
There we go. We're trying to reconnect. Hey guys, we're gonna kind of ramble a little bit and see if anybody picks up. Welcome to Eufaula Artalks.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we've got a special guest today, guys. Let's see if we can get some more people going on here. Oh, we got somebody watching. Hey! Thanks for joining us today. As you know, this is Eufaula Artalks, and we have it every Tuesday at 1 o'clock where we interview a different artist, and today I have a real treat for you. We have a new member, actually, to Eufaula Area Arts, and welcome to the Eufaula Area Arts, and welcome to Artalks.
Well, thank you.
This, guys, is, and I hope I don't tear up his last name, Josh Mindemann.
Yes, ma'am.
Josh Mindemann from Wilburton, Oklahoma. He is a professor over at Eastern, and this is the first time we've met. I don't know a whole lot about him, so we're just going to get to know him today, and we're really excited that he's a part of the Eufaula Area Arts because he is a photographer, and you know, there's some great art that comes out of photography, and you brought some stuff for us to see today.
I did.
And I'm going to be showing you guys that a little bit later, but let's just chat. Yeah, so tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, for one thing, like, I'm looking forward to the photography in this area because the area is beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just we moved up. My wife actually moved back in the fall because she got a job teaching at EOC, teaching biology, and then they opened up a photography position, and so I'm teaching photography and design, and moved up this spring. So I've been here for a few months, half a year now. But we came from the Lawton area over in the southwest Oklahoma, so we came from flat, nothing plains to beautiful rolling hills and lakes, and there's so much more water here.
Well, you know, I noticed in some of your photography that it was very Native American based. Is that because of the Lawton area?
The Comanche Nation is right there, just right outside of Lawton. Grew up with a lot of Comanche friends. Actually worked for a place called Intertribal for a little while, where it was like a design shop, and so it was really cool. You got to learn a whole bunch of the different cultures and stuff in the area. And so I came from a very small, very like mostly white farming community, and so getting to learn things was really nice, and getting to understand different cultures, because again, I came in and one of the things I remember, like one of the first designs I was doing, I had teepees on it, and I was told, no, don't do that. You're working for the Delaware, you're working for the Lenni Lenape, and that's not those.
Right.
And so it kind of opened up my mind to learning other things and expanding that knowledge, and so that kind of helped open up my artwork.
And you know, that's the sad thing, is that doesn't happen very often. People that, you know, they just start,
no, we all compartmentalize and lump everything into one big group, and what we see on TV.
Right,
so.
Exactly. So that's great that you do that, and that's an influence that we need on art in general.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a great thing. Well, what made you interested in photography?
It's kind of been so I think I started, like, I'm going to go back a little bit further and say that, like, when I started out art, I started out like most kids, drawing things, and where most people pick up other hobbies and kind of drop it, I just never dropped it. I always loved drawing forever, like through my school years. And so it wasn't until high school I got my parents' old film camera. I don't even know what kind it was anymore, and took it out with me and explored some different areas and kind of got into it there. And so I went from drawing to photography, and immediately wanted my own camera. And so as soon as I got that and started taking pictures, then I had to get into Photoshop and learning how to process my images, which then got me into design. So it all kind of wove together.
Yeah. You know, I think it's a misconception too that people don't think about photography being an art. What's your thoughts on that?
I would go back, like, one of the first things that inspired me to get into photography is I saw some Ansel Adams prints at one of my friend's house, and I know Ansel was one of the first people that kind of pushed forward photography as its own art medium. And so now that I'm teaching photography, I've learned a lot more of the history of it, and it's been interesting seeing like the processes and how in the beginning it was a way to document things, and there was a lot of pushback about, well, this is too easy, therefore it's not art. But it's become its own artistic medium, and I think that there's beautiful things you can do, and photography is so much more than just snapping a picture. There's so much more to the process. And going back to Ansel Adams, he's the one that said that you make a photo, you don't take a photo, and so that's referencing all the extra steps that go into it.
Yeah, I like that. Well, If you were going to give somebody a tip, say somebody's just kind of dabbling in it a little bit, what would be the most important thing you think of about taking photographs?
Ooh, there's so many different things all could check. I mean, the first step is just learning your equipment, technically. I mean, that goes for any medium. I mean, if you're going to get into oil painting, you have to understand the difference in linseed oil and everything else, and have the right brushes and the right material. You can't just start painting on a canvas without putting gesso on it, or you're going to ruin your canvas. And so knowing the technical aspects of your medium helps. So learn your camera. But the other thing is just like having an eye for lighting and starting to study and just pay attention to and notice and look at how light reacts with things. Light is the most important thing that you can, shape in your photos. So just accepting what's there, you can look for the right ways and the right angles to accentuate it, but then once you start getting into the realm of adjusting your lights and being more purposeful in your lighting, that's when you really, I think, start to shape your own photos more.
Oh. Well, I was telling you earlier, I went to Eastern in Wilmington, and I took a photography class, but the only thing I really remember about it is that we did a calendar for a fundraiser. And so, dating myself, I was a calendar girl in 1977. But anyway, so I know you do a lot of other things. A little bit about your history, though, and I think this is important to any of our young people listening, is that pursuing your career is important. And you told me that you dropped out.
Yes, so I went to Oklahoma State back in 2005, got into some general art classes, took a few drawing classes, but ultimately I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and so I ended up leaving. I got a job at Blunk's, which I don't know if Blunk's is still around. I think they were bought out by Lifetouch. But it was a big photography studio in Oklahoma, and so I did school day photos for several years. Following that, I got the job at, I think Intertribal was next, doing some graphic design. I worked on Fort Seal, doing some photos and videos there too for a little while. But ultimately, it was when my kids were born in 2015 that I decided it was time to finish my degree and go back. So rather than go all the way back up to Stillwater, I went to Cameron University, which was close to where I was at. Reapplied, got back on, and so actually just last spring I finished my Bachelor of Arts degree, and so finally completed that.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, so now I just applied to and got accepted to a master's program at Liberty University, so I'm going to be, for the next 2 years, I'm going to be a student again trying to pursue my master's.
Hey, never too late. Never too late. And that's the wonderful thing about art. And a lot of people don't realize, some people think it's just a hobby or something, but you can make a livelihood out of it. And most artists, that's their livelihood.
There's two sides of it. There's the academic side and there's just the natural talent side. And I think a lot of artists have that natural talent and that desire to create, but then when you pair that with the knowledge and you start to learn about the things that you're creating, it really just, those two marry and produce something so much better.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you can only make art with the knowledge, but it helps.
Yes.
It helps shape things.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting that you are colorblind.
I am. I know, it's been the curse of my life. So, and I still remember the way I found out I was colorblind was all the way back in, I don't know, like 4th grade, and we were doing a mural for Thanksgiving, and because I was the classroom artist and I was the one that liked to draw, they're like, hey, we're going to do this mural and I want you to paint the Mayflower. And so I drew this beautiful boat, all the shapes are elaborate, did all the beautiful line work, and I started coloring it, and it was like I was halfway colored when someone came to me and said, why is it green? Because I thought I was coloring it brown.
Wow.
I was just like, maybe it was seasick. Wow. So that was when I started questioning things, because it really just kind of messed with my reality. But everyone assumes that because you're colorblind that you're not going to really work with colors, and I've done some black and white stuff, but actually my stuff tends to be more colorful because I have to paint at full intensity to be able to really see the differences.
That's amazing. See, anyone can do art. Don't give up.
And then if it turns out to be just subjective color, then it's subjective color.
Yeah.
So you got into a lot more abstract stuff that way, and so.
Wait, I understand you have a lot of different mediums that you like. What's some of the other things that you do?
So on top of drawings, I've done some watercolor, some oil paintings, some acrylics, photography, graphic design, creative writing, which I still consider an art.
Absolutely.
A little bit of music. trying to think. I do video. Do a lot of filmography stuff.
Oh.
I've shot some commercials and things along that line. A little bit of printmaking. I took a couple classes, so I've done some lino cuts and stuff there too.
Yeah. So do you do any private lessons or anything like that?
I haven't. I've been approached to put on some watercolor workshops, and I didn't feel like I was at a place where I could teach that yet because I just learned watercolor like less than 2 years ago.
Wow.
So that was the first time I picked up a brush.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. So tell the people how to get in touch with you or what your Facebook page is.
My Facebook page, my work page is Josh Mindemann Creative Solutions. You can find me. I've got a website, joshmindemann.com, short and sweet. Instagram is is jmindemann_art, and I'm also on TikTok because it's quarantine. So yeah.
I haven't tried that yet.
Yeah, just joshing with you is the TikTok tag. So.
That's cute. Well, all that information we'll have Glenna to post it on our Facebook page in case you miss it and you want to contact him and maybe get more information about what you do. And I'm going to show you some of his art. Is there anything else that you want to add?
No, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to talk with me. It's really awesome to get to network with people in this area and rebuild some of these contacts.
Well, I think that you have a lot to offer, and I think that people should contact you if they have, even if they just have an interest, just to have somebody that will encourage them.
Absolutely.
So anyway, guys, before I start showing you these photographs, I want to say thank you for coming out, and I'm going to ask you some questions about your artwork. But remember, September 19th is our Yellow Submarine art show, and what we want to see is some very avant-garde type of stuff, some real hippie type of stuff. My favorite is probably Peter Max. If you don't know him, Google him. And so just kind of some fun stuff. Try something different. If you do something real traditional or whatever, try something different and enter it in the art show. Let's have some fun. And don't forget, next Tuesday. And in the meantime, I want to show you some of this great art. And I'm going to flip around my camera. Oh, let's see. I got a little bit of a glare. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Tell me about this center one, Josh.
So this one, the title is Spirit of the Lakota, and it is part of a Warrior Women series I'm working on. So the model is a friend of mine. Her name is Integrity, and what I'm doing is I'm taking different indigenous cultures that are traditionally like masculine warriors and putting females into the roles.
Huh.
And again, I try to do a lot of study and be respectful of cultures too. And so when putting a headdress on someone, I'm a little bit hesitant because I realize the significance of it. And so in studying it, I learned a lot about how the feather was given as a prize and that the headdresses kind of were made almost as a way to show off those feathers. So I purposely used a headdress that did not include any eagle feathers because it's almost like having an empty trophy case. Yeah. It's the trophy that you don't want to misrepresent. It's not the trophy case. And so I tried to be respectful in that way and make sure that it wasn't a real headdress.
That's interesting. Okay, I thought this was really pretty. Talk about colors. There's some nice colors in that.
Thank you. Yeah, I kind of went off the charts with the
and
color
you said
on that one.
this was a painting that you...
Yes, this was an original watercolor. This is a reproduction of the original, which sold.
A watercolor, yeah.
So I've got a couple good photographs to make some prints.
And then this one I thought was gorgeous, especially people like wildlife.
This was my very first watercolor workshop, and we were doing birds, and after doing the first few, teacher pulled me aside and kind of told me, I think you're a little more advanced for this, so if you want to just kind of pick your own references instead of going step by step, you do whatever you want. And so I was in a group I was a 30-year-old guy, and I was with nothing but elderly women in the workshop. And so I was definitely at a different demographic than the standard group that came through. And so everyone was painting these beautiful larks and being the guy like, I want to do something quote-unquote masculine. So it's like I wanted to do a bird of prey. And so I started looking at hawks and things, but they were all kind of really muddy brown until I found these beautiful kestrels that brought in the blue. And so I was really drawn to like the color of these birds. And so yeah, these are American kestrels. And
Yeah, those are gorgeous. Well, we're about over time here, so I just want to say thank you guys for joining us today. Be with us next Tuesday at 1 o'clock right here on Artalks. See you then. Say bye, Josh.
Bye, guys. Nice to meet you.